Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
How are we this morning?
Tired.
On this very humid day. You're tired.
I had a night off, so I went down to Connecticut to have dinner with my girlfriend and hung out there for a couple hours and
So, Pete, I was
finally get a night off.
I was thinking of your girlfriend over the weekend. How did she fare with Henri?
Not too bad. They got
Not
dumped
too
a
bad.
lot around the Northwest Hills of Connecticut.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly where she was, but I know
Yeah, New
Connecticut
Hartford.
was, kind of getting hammered more than we were. So,
And she had the center pretty close, very close to her house.
okay.
As it transitioned, meandered across the state of Connecticut into New York State.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I'm glad it fizzled.
Yes, you and me both. I mean, we were ready. You know,
I was at Mount Holyoke most of the weekend.
Were you?
Yeah, they needed all the help they could get.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, and it was usually we don't have two dispatchers on a weekend, but it was move in and it was kids are moving. They did really staggered move in this year.
Yes.
To bring only a couple hundred on at a time, so they could test.
Smart.
Everybody had to be quick tested on the way in.
Yep.
So we did move in.
So I was wondering about that. So when do they actually start classes up there? Not for a couple of days?
Right after Labor Day.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Convocation, I think, is next weekend. So
So-
they don't start until after that.
Wow. So they moved in early.
Yeah, no, because a lot of international students and everything,
Oh,
they move in
gotcha.
early
Yeah.
anyways.
Yes.
That's a high international student population up there.
So, yeah. So I can imagine they were doing lots of testing up there.
Yeah.
With students coming in from all over the place, just being extra cautious.
But yeah, you can't get
Yes,
on
we will.
campus without a test.
Yeah. Yep.
Negative quick test.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Which the quick test is, from what I've been reading now, they've revoked the authorization for the PCR and the quick test.
Yeah.
So all this
exactly.
testing we've done means like nothing.
Nothing. Right. I know.
Because even the PCR test, the one that's supposed to be the gold standard,
Yeah.
they've revoked the authorization for that. And it runs out at the end of the year. They've let it go to the end of the year.
Okay.
But they said it can't differentiate between that and the flu. That's why we had no flu.
Oh, okay. All right.
We had a doctor and come up in front of the school committee. He's a chiropractor too, Paghetti.
I don't know.
Anyways, he came up in front of the school committee citing all this stuff. So I said, well, I'll go fact check them because I'm bored out here in the back doing the school committee meeting. And he's right. So I'm like, okay, well, he's right.
Okay.
Like the gold standard of testing detects that you have a virus with similar nucleotide characteristics of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's exactly that virus, but it's the same characteristics.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
but
All right.
something to be concerned about, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, no, I got
You
it.
know, I
But I'm
mean,
like,
you know.
yeah, the fact that the FDA's pulled the authorization now is, it's, you know what? I wish they'd just give us a straight answer.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a year now, right?
Yes. But, it's hard because science, I mean, I think people like to think that science is really black and white. And the
Oh, no, it
reality
evolves.
is it evolves. Exactly. It does develop. And, we learn more as we go along. And that's been like that since the beginning of time. So I think we just have to accept it. But, of course, we want instant answers right away just because that's the way we are.
Well, I've been
Let's
willing to
just
go
look at
along
it.
with things,
Yeah.
but I also do my own research.
Yep.
Because especially with the vaccine, I did a lot of reading on that, and I'm like, all right, well, this is interesting. The methodation is pretty cool, and I read about the sequencing and stuff, and I'm like, all right, this will do the job it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be for sure.
But then you hear all the stuff like school committee people are passionate about. Well, the kids wear masks, all this stuff, and it's not a population that's effective, which is true.
Well, it doesn't
But
really,
it's
you know
also,
what?
but then it's like, well, we protect the teachers. Well, no, wait a minute, stop. The teachers screamed and yelled last spring. Remember, they got to the head of the line for vaccines. If you haven't gotten a vaccine by now, shame on you. And we shouldn't mask an entire population just to protect a few idiots who decide not to get their vaccine. And I'll call them idiots.
Well,
at this point,
you know what? I kept saying all along, the state just needs to decide what they want to do about this.
Apparently they have.
And they did. So, done. Moot point. But I think I'm saddened that the state waited as long as they did because you had all these school committees. I just feel like it's.
Well, I think they should go on the record as how they feel about it.
Yeah, but you know what? My issue is that you're putting people. You're going to end up with nobody wanting to run for school committee. We're quickly going to end up with no poll workers because who wants to take their life in their hands because they worked at the polls for a day or
But if you're
was on the school committee,
poll workers are generally. Elderly retired. If you haven't gotten vaccinated by now, shame on you even more.
No, but I'm not talking. No, I'm not talking about that, Pete. I'm just talking about all the political stuff out there with voting and it's not accurate. And I mean, there are poll workers in some of these cities that are they're getting death threats and it's like really who needs to do all this stuff? So yeah, no, I don't mean about
Usually
the vaccine because
it's the bureaucrats who are running the poll workers.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And I know the bureaucrats in this city, and frankly, I know the system, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, and I agree.
But there's some big cities where there are problems.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think, and of course, now you've got poll workers who, I have one of my older adults who for years worked the polls in Springfield and, just said, now there's just so much and all the protocols and, he's just like, I don't need it.
Right.
And he does, I get it. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean,
And the thing is it doesn't matter who won or lost the last election.
Yeah.
The problems need to be fixed.
Like, move on. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Fix the problems. We don't. The last one's over with, but don't ignore the problems either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox for the morning.
All right. Well, listen, let's do a birthday because it's already 6:09, and otherwise nobody's going to know why I chose this song. So we do have some famous birthdays today. So first of all, it is the birthday. Today is August 25th, and it is the birthday of Leonard Bernstein, conductor, composer. And I didn't realize that. Did you know he was born in Massachusetts? Because I had no idea. He was born in.
For some reason, I heard that.
Had you heard that? Probably on Bob's, Bob Plaza's show, because Bob's all into that. But Leonard Bernstein was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, on this date in 1918. He died in 1990 at the age of 72. Despite being a talented pianist at the age of 10, Leonard Bernstein grew up understanding that business and success were paramount, and occupations, in quotation marks, in the field of music and art were simply off limits. That was his dad, especially. Very, business oriented. Do something with your life. Forget about all this art and music. That's fine. You can do that on the side. But Bernstein attended Boston Latin School, and after graduating, he entered Harvard University, where he studied music theory. And in 1940, when he was 22, the Berkshire Music Center at Tanglewood invited Bernstein to join 300 other talented students and professional musicians for a summer of musical exploration and performance. Bernstein was only one of 5 students accepted in the master class in conducting. Out of pure luck, he was offered the position of assistant conductor of the New York Philharmonic. Due to the war draft, there were very few able musicians that remained stateside. The conductor, Artur Rudzinski, was given the rather unconventional recommendation of an American-born, because at that time most conductors, orchestral conductors, were not American-born, an asthma-stricken Bernstein. On November 14th, 1943, Leonard Bernstein was called at 9 a.m. The symphony's guest conductor, the very prestigious Bruno Walter, had fallen ill, and Rudzinski, able but generous, ordered Bernstein to step up and conduct the afternoon's concert. And step up he did. The young conductor amazed the crowd and his players. The New York Times published a front-page article about his performance, and overnight, he became a respected conductor, one who would lead the Philharmonic 11 times by the end of that season. Leonard Bernstein's musical life continued to blossom. His most famous collaboration with Jerome Robbins, Arthur Lawrence, and Stephen Sondheim resulted in the beloved musical West Side Story. When it opened, the show garnered unanimous rave reviews, matched only by its movie version, which was released in 1961. The show was released in the 1950s. Okay. So happy birthday to the late Leonard Bernstein. And I just thought that was kind of cool that he was born in Lawrence, Mass. and really got his start in Tanglewood. So how fun is that for those of us living in Massachusetts? So very cool.
Yeah.
And we'll do one more birthday before we take a break. It is the birthday of the late Regis Philbin, talk and game show host, born on this date, August 25th, 1931, in New York City. He died just last year in 2020 at the age of 88. After graduating from Notre Dame in 1953, Regis Philbin served in the U.S. Navy. Following his discharge from the military, he began his television career with several entry-level jobs in Hollywood. His first talk show, The Regis Philbin Show on KGTV in San Diego, spawned his now well-known style of host chat. Without money for a writing staff, Philbin began each show sharing his own observations and engaging with the audience. That's what we do, Pete.
Yep.
Like, we could be famous. This maybe. This led to an Emmy-winning Los Angeles show called Philbin's People, in which he discussed current issues with popular celebrities. Philbin gained national exposure in 1967 as the sidekick on The Joey Bishop Show. Even though it was a great opportunity, Regis Philbin was very unhappy during his stint with Joey Bishop. He felt constantly frustrated and humiliated by the show's star, whose jokes were often at Philbin's expense. Philbin then spent 7 successful years on AM Los Angeles and won an Emmy for his work on The Regis Philbin Show. In 1983, he joined Cindy Garvey on New York City's The Morning Show, but the show did not fare well in the ratings. Garvey was replaced by Kathy Lee Gifford in 1985, and the show was renamed Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. The duo's on-air chemistry made the show a success, and it became nationally syndicated in 1988. In 1999, Philbin hosted the highest-rated primetime game show in history, the UK import Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Though initially slated for a 2-week release in late summer, the success of the show ensured its return. After dominating the ratings race during the network's sweep period, it earned a regular place in the schedule, made the Philbin phrase, "Is that your final answer?" a staple in pop culture circles, and inspired competing networks to jump on the primetime game show bandwagon. In February 2000, Philbin inked a deal with ABC's corporate owner Disney, bringing his annual salary for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to an unprecedented $20 million, the highest pay ever for a game show host. The next year, he was awarded a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Game Show Host.
Is that your final answer?
Is that your final answer? So, Pete, I have to tell you this great story about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So before I started my work in Westfield at the Senior Center, I was teaching at Springfield College. And I was teaching several courses, but one of them was a course on working with the elderly, needs of aging. So at this time, this was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was the show on television. Like everybody was watching it. Everybody knew it. Even if you didn't watch it, you knew about it, and everybody knew, is this your final answer? So I decided to have some fun with my students and be a little creative as they prepared for their final exam for me. And so I devised a game that we played on the last class before the final, and it was called Who Wants to Win $5? Now, keeping in mind that these were college students who, like $5, and this was back however many years ago, 10, 15, no, it was more than that, probably like 20 years ago. So here's what I did. So I had 25 students in my class, so I came up with 25 questions. And for each question, now, if you remember the way Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was played, you had an option when you got your question. If you got stuck, you could poll the audience. So you could ask the audience, what they thought. You could get 2 answers taken away because it was a multiple choice. You had 4 choices. So you could get 2 of them taken away, and then you had to come up with the answer out of the 2. Or you could phone a friend, right? So that's the way we played the game. So each student got 1 question. So we just went around the room. So, and I drew the question out of the hat. I would ask them the question, and they had the choice. They could poll the audience, so they could ask the class. So we would do it that way. Or they could ask me to take 2 of the wrong answers away. I would eliminate 2 of the wrong answers and give them the right answer. Or they could phone a friend. Now, this was really before cell phones were super popular. So what we did was we had, when you phoned your friend, you had to phone a friend that was in the class. You couldn't phone a friend that took the course with me, the semester before. Mm-hmm. So I needed, so that meant that I needed to get a few fake phones, right? So I went to my neighbor who had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old daughter. And I said, do you have any play phones? And she said, oh, absolutely. The girls have play phones. So one of them, they were both pink. One of them was a Barbie phone. And the other one had this pink feathery stuff on the receiver. And they were like the old fashioned phones, with the wire. So I brought them into my bag. And so, we started playing the game. And the students were having a great time. And, they were nobody had phoned a friend yet. They were polling the audience. They were having me take 2. And then I got my two of my football players, and these guys were burly. They were like linebacker kind of guys. So the one of them gets the question, and he said, all right, I'm going to phone a friend. I said, okay, well, if you're going to phone a friend, it has to be somebody in the classroom. Who are you going to phone? Well, I'm going to phone my buddy who's also on the football team. I said, okay, well, let me get my phones out for you. So I had them in the bag so nobody had seen the phones. Pull the phones out. So I have these 2 big burly guys on these pink Barbie fluffy phones calling each other across the room going, okay, what's the answer to this question? And I just wish I had this on video, because to look at these guys on these pink phones, the class was just roaring. It was hysterical. And so then what we did was we took anybody who got their answer right. Mm-hmm. We put all those in a hat, we put those in a bowl. And then I drew 1 name at the end of class just from the people who got the right answer. And that person was the winner who won my $5. They had so much fun. The next semester it wasn't even halfway through the semester, and I already had students saying, are we going to get to play the game? Are we going to get to do the game for the final exam? And I thought, oh man, it was a lot of work because I had to come up with all these questions and then, eliminate answers. It was a lot of preparation, but so worth it. It was a good time. All right. So having said all of that, let's do, we're going to take a break. It is 6:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. In honor of the birthday of Leonard Bernstein, we're going to listen to a song from West Side Story. This is actually Andy Williams' version of the song Tonight from West Side Story. We'll be back.
Tonight won't be just any night. Tonight there will be no morning star. Tonight, I'll see my love tonight, and for us stars will stop where they are. sky is light. Oh, moon, grow bright and make this endless day, endless night. Still the sky is light. Oh, moon, grow bright and make this endless day, endless night.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:23. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
It's really muggy out there today. It's already, I mean, I think it's supposed to be climbing in temperature. But what I don't know, Pete, is are we expecting rain this afternoon, or are we okay for today?
I don't think there's any rain in the forecast.
No, good. Okay. All right. We are doing, at the Senior Center, we have our Wednesday curbside cuisine today, but we also have we are also doing curbside signups for chair yoga, and those will take place at 2:00 this afternoon. So for all of our chair yoga folk, if you want to sign up for classes for the fall, I can't believe we're talking about September and October classes already, but we are. So it's this afternoon. Make sure that you're going to stay in your vehicle. Make sure that you have the correct amount of money in your envelope. And on your envelope, you need to put which session you're signing up for, the day, whether it's Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and your preferred time. And you're just going to hand me that envelope. I'm going to hand it over to Mary Lou, and you're going to wait in your car so we can confirm that you got a spot for when you wanted it. And if not, we're going to negotiate where we can put you, which class we can put you in, and you'll be on your way. So it's that one of the silver linings, Pete, we were talking about this yesterday over at the Senior Center. One of the silver linings is there are some things that we learned work really well, and some of this curbside stuff works really well for our seniors. We're the ones that are going to be out there in the heat today, but they can stay in the comfort of their air-conditioned car and just drive right up, and it's perfect. It's quick and easy. Okay, so today, August 25th, just as a little info, it is National Park Service Founders Day. I actually have read this in several places, including in this morning's Westfield News. So the National Park Service was signed into existence by President Woodrow Wilson 105 years ago today and was tasked with overseeing and protecting the growing number of national parks. It is commemorated annually with Founders Day celebrations. The first national park, which was Yellowstone, was established in 1872 when Congress passed legislation preserving the land as a, quote, public park or pleasuring ground for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. In doing so, the United States became the first country in the world to set aside land for that purpose. That was the first of many steps at the federal level to create and preserve national land, forests, coastal regions, wildlife refuges, and historic sites for future generations. At the time the National Park Service was founded, there were 33 federally created areas, as well as the National Capital Parks, the National Mall, and the White House, all in Washington, D.C., in existence. Today, there are more than 400 acres, including 59 fully designated national parks across the nation and its territories under the domain of the National Park Service. In total, the parks cover more than 84 million acres. The National Park Service employs approximately 22,000 workers and supplements their permanent, temporary, and seasonal roles with an additional 340,000 volunteers. Every year, nearly 331 million visitors explore the parks. And if you ask my brother and sister-in-law, they will tell you that all 331 million went up to Acadia National Park this year in Bar Harbor because they saw unprecedented numbers of people.
I believe that.
They just, they needed to get away.
People stayed within region, too.
Yep, exactly. It was someplace where they could drive. And but you know what? It all worked out. When we were up there, we just kind of worked around it. We didn't spend a lot of time in downtown Bar Harbor. In fact, we spent virtually zero time there. But Gary and I found if we got up early, and Grace and her boyfriend Isaac went up a few weeks after we did, and we told them, just get up early, go to bed early, get up early, and, get into the park and do your hiking or whatever you want to do. And then, because by 10 o'clock in the morning, it was starting, people with families, the kids were waking up and everything. But early on, it was fine. It was good. It was good. So, Pete, have you been to any national parks?
Yes.
Where have you been?
Cape Cod National Seashore.
Yep.
Assateague Island.
Where's that?
Down where I go for launches in Virginia.
Oh.
It's right next to Chincoteague Island.
Okay. Didn't know that.
The Cape Canaveral National Seashore.
Okay.
And then I got my national park pass, so I'm planning on doing other parks this year.
You know what? Gary
possible.
got his national park pass when he was up in Bar Harbor this year.
Yeah.
He
I
actually
get it every year.
I think he got it. Well, he got the one for older adults where you can get, it's like a lifetime one. He had gotten.
Yeah, I don't qualify.
You don't qualify for that yet.
You have to be 60 and over.
Yes, you have to be 60. And when he was out at one of the parks with a friend of his out in wherever they were in the Midwest someplace, he got it for that session, that those dates that he was out there. But they said to him, and I think it was $20, and I think
you can upgrade it.
It was 60 or 80 and all, right? And they said if you want to go with like the lifetime one, they'll apply the 20 to whatever the total is. And so that's what he did when we were up in Bar Harbor. He took a trip over there, and
First Meal Mortals,
so
it's
cool.
$80 a year.
Yeah. So I think his was either 60 or 80 for a lifetime. It used to be not that long ago. It was like 20 for a lifetime because I remember that information getting passed around my seniors, and they were, all go, "Wow, this is great." So a lot of them took advantage of that. But
so what do you think about the virtual set I'm playing with?
Pete, I'm looking at it. I like it. I have to get used to it, but I like it.
I can zoom you in.
So the background is really kind of fun. Yeah. I like it. I know you were over there playing with your, doing your thing. Yeah, but I like the other. It's very cool.
Yeah, a new program I'm playing with called vMix.
I really like it. We'll have to poll the audience, and you'll have to let us know. Do you like? I like it.
Yeah, I was playing with it with Kenny's show yesterday.
Yeah.
For making the list, and I'm like, I'll try different things.
How did he like it?
He thought it was pretty cool because we could put Chef John up in the window using the other booth.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm going to adjust your camera shot, though. We might have to paint the floor now, though.
Really?
See
Why?
the floor?
Yeah.
You can actually see the floor key. Or frame you so that you only see green. Because the green key's out.
I know.
And the floor doesn't.
I think it looks pretty cool, though. I really like it.
It's something different.
Okay. It is. It's very studio-ish, Pete.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I do. All right, listen, it is 6:30, so we're going to take a break. It is 6:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So while Pete's playing, we're going to take a short break. We're going to listen to Bare Naked Ladies singing If I Had $1 Million in honor of the birthday of Regis Philbin, host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We'll be back.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a house.
I would buy you a house.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
buy you furniture for your house.
maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a K car.
a nice Reliant automobile.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
I'd build a tree fort in our yard.
if I had $1 million,
You could help, it wouldn't be that hard.
if I had $1 million,
Maybe we could put like a little tiny fridge in there somewhere.
we could just go up there and hang out.
Like open the fridge and stuff, and there'll always be foods laid out for us with little pre-wrapped sausages and things. They have pre-wrapped sausages, but they don't have pre-wrapped bacon.
Well, can you blame them?
Oh yeah.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a fur coat.
but not a real fur coat, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you an exotic pet.
yep, like a llama or an emu.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you John Merrick's remains.
ooh, all them crazy elephant bones.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
We wouldn't have to walk to the store.
if I had $1 million,
Now we'd take a limousine 'cause it costs
if
more.
I had $1 million,
We wouldn't have to eat Kraft dinner.
but we would eat Kraft dinner
Of course we would. We just eat more.
and buy really expensive ketchups with it.
That's right. All the fanciest Dijon ketchup.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a green dress.
but not a real green dress, that's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you some art.
a Picasso or a Garfunkel.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a monkey.
haven't you always wanted a monkey?
If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
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 I'd be rich.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. Ooh, look at this peak. I'm like feeling really special. Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. P is having a ball over here. He's just playing around. We've got all kinds of views. Look at this. That is really fun. This is as close. See, I am not a city person. I don't do well in cities. So this is kind of fun because it's my this is a virtual. It's like my fantasy. So
yep, virtual set.
Yeah, I know. It's really kind of cool. All right. So first of all, I just want to let people know that my guest second hour will be Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield. Pete, I just got a text from Joe. He's going to phone in today, feeling a little under the weather and just being overly cautious, as we all are. So he'll be calling in after 7 o'clock. So, but stay tuned. We have a lot to talk about with Joe. Obviously, you know, the word that he hates is fluid, but the reality is this is a fluid situation. So I have lots of questions for Joe, and I told him that I was going to have lots of questions for him. So he'll join us second hour. In the meantime, today, August 25th, on this day in 1942, rock vocalist Walter Williams was born. He was born in Canton, Ohio, and he's 79 years old today. Walter Williams and Eddie Levert started the rhythm and blues group the OJs back in the late 1950s. They recorded for various record companies throughout the years. The duo's Philadelphia International label released an impressive run of hits by the OJs in the 1970s, including the top 10 singles Backstabbers, Love Train, and For the Love of Money. In 1983, on his 40th birthday, Walter Williams was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. MS made it exceedingly difficult for Williams to keep up with the group's demanding tour schedule and intricate onstage choreography, yet he soldiered on. We do a lot of turns and spins, and it was a constant effort not to lose my balance, he said. When the disease was at its worst, Williams felt numb from the waist down. He has a message for anyone trying to cope with serious illness. And his quote is, "Treat yourself right, eat right, exercise, and seek treatment. You can live a good life. There is help and there is hope." So happy birthday to Walter Williams, rock vocalist. And interestingly, even though they definitely had a string of hits back in the 70s, but for the next break, I'm actually going to play a song that I hadn't ever heard the OJs sing, but it's got a catchy tune, and I just figured,
I had to go find that one.
Yeah, I know. It's called "Sing a Happy Song," but you know, it's interesting.
I've heard it though. I've heard the song.
I hadn't heard it, but you know, there are other songs when you hear their top 10, it's like, oh yeah, I know that. But you know, he's right, Pete. I went back and looked at some of the old videos of them performing. And it was like, you know, the Temptations. They used to, you know, they would get in a line and they would sing, but they would spin, and they were, you know, there was a lot of dancing and dance movement back in the 70s in those performances. And I can't even imagine, honestly, somebody with MS trying to do that, because one of the characteristics about multiple sclerosis is that it really throws your balance off. So frequently you'll see someone, even with a milder case, needing to use a cane or a walker, at least sometimes, not always. It's also a disease that has exacerbations, and then you'll kind of have its ups and downs. So literally one day you could be almost in a wheelchair, and the next day, walking with some issues. So anyway, hats off to him. Still performing, still doing okay at the age of 79. So happy birthday to Walter Williams. It is also the birthday of Billy Ray Cyrus, country singer, songwriter, and actor. He was born on this day in 1961 in Flatwoods, Kentucky. And do you know what that means, Pete? That means that today, Billy Ray Cyrus is 60 years old. So he is eligible to join the Westfield Senior Center. Billy Ray Cyrus can join the Westfield Senior Center. So I thought I would contact him later on this morning and invite him to become a member, maybe send him a membership form. He can mail it back to me. Billy Ray Cyrus is an American singer, songwriter, and actor. He has released 16 studio albums and 53 singles since 1992 and is known for his hit single, Achy Breaky Heart, which topped the U.S. Hot Country Songs chart and became the first single ever to achieve triple platinum status in Australia. Because of the song's music video, line dancing rose in popularity. Cyrus, a multi-platinum selling recording artist, has scored a total of 8 top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. His most successful album to date is his debut, which was called Some Gave All. From 2001 to 2004, Cyrus starred in the television show Doc. The show was about a country doctor who moved from Montana to New York City. From 2006 to 2011, he co-starred in the Disney Channel series Hannah Montana with his daughter, Miley Cyrus. From 2016 to 17, he starred as Vernon Brownmule on the CMT sitcom Still the King. So happy, special 60th birthday, because in Massachusetts, you're now considered an older adult, Billy Ray, to Billy Ray Cyrus. How cool. How fun. So, Pete, before we take our next break, you mentioned that last night you had a break, no meetings.
Right.
But,
I know,
we are at the end of August, and the end of August means we start scaling up because, things start happening. I know that City Council had a meeting last Thursday. So what's on tap? Do you have anything tonight? I'm sure you do.
School Building Committee.
School Building Committee.
5 o'clock.
So we're kind of back to that. I feel
they've been meeting all summer.
Oh, they have? Okay, good. Making
Yes.
making progress, I hope.
Yes, they've
Good.
been meeting all summer. So
Good.
that hasn't been an issue.
Perfect. And then what I know some of the other committees have been meeting pretty diligently over the
I
summer
got to finish
as well.
a job description because I need to hire some help.
You do. You absolutely do. I mean, because you know what? I keep up with these meetings through the Westfield News, which is, my news source for all things Westfield.
Yeah, 'cause
so,
we're back to
I kind of
covering
get it after the fact, but yeah,
The
lots
big
of
3,
stuff.
which I actually want to make big 4. I want to add Conservation Commission to the rotation of stuff we broadcast.
What do you consider the big 3, Pete? What are the, obviously,
the
council?
stuff we've covered is council, school committee, and planning board.
Yes. Okay.
And if you add conservation, that's where most of the work of government gets done. At least on the
Really?
legislative side. Yeah.
Wow. Now that, I didn't see that one coming.
So
Why
any
do you say
major
that?
project goes through the planning board.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And almost by default, any major project also goes through the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Big legislative and dollar issues go through City Council.
Yep.
And school committee is basically the City Council of the school department.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So those are kind of like the big 4 committees.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of committees that do a lot of stuff, and we saw all those through Zoom and everything.
Sure.
But those are the ones that all the stuff that people tend to complain about or are highly interested in.
Or exactly, or have an interest for whatever their
like
reason
when you see all
is,
these
for
postings on the forum saying, "Well, they're digging. What's going on at the jug handle up on the pike?"
Right.
Well, it's been in the planning board for 6 months.
Right.
Where you been?
Right. Exactly.
And I don't even go to those meetings anymore because they're in person again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where you been?
Yeah.
Well, what's going on next to TJ Maxx? That's an Aldi's. It was stuck in conservation for a couple of months because they had to figure out the comp storage for the flooding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So if you really want to know what's going on in the city,
you absolutely can.
Those are the 4 that you really should
Right.
be paying attention to.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah, and you're right, Pete, because how many times have we heard people say, well, I didn't know anything about that. People tell me that all the time. Well, what's going on at the senior center? I didn't know anything about that. I was like, there's
Tune into your
I
show
was
every
like, right.
Wednesday
It's
morning.
like, what else can I do for you guys except like
Well, the
call
mayor's-
you on the phone and read you the newsletter?
The mayor says the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like, he goes, we put it out on Channel 15, we put it out on Channel 12, we put it on the city website, we tell the media.
Right.
Where else are we going to go?
Well, but
I'm not going to stand on the corner. He says, we've done signboards on the town park square.
Yep.
He goes,
oh, yeah.
there's no other way to get it out.
I know. And but I also have people who have said to me, I'll say, well, that was a front page story in the Westfield News. Well, I don't get the Westfield News. I'm like, well, maybe you should think about getting the Westfield News or, picking up a copy at Big
Right.
Y or at your local Cumberland Farms or something because, as I said to people, well, then you're not going to know. That's what I say to people. Well, I don't read the newsletter. I said, well, then you're not going to know what's going on
ignorance
at the senior
is
center.
not bliss.
I was like, okay. That's your option, but don't come back at me and say, well, act like you didn't have a way to get that information. It's out there. I mean, my God, I spend hours, I spend days on that newsletter and revising and last minute revisions so that it's as up to date as possible.
Right.
It's like, if you don't read it, I can't help you, and you have access to it. I mean, you can get it online. You can get it at the pharmacies. You can get it at the senior center 24/7 because now we have it in a bin right outside the door. I will mail it to you if you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. I can't make it any easier for you guys.
Exactly.
And it's the same with this, the city council, the subcommittees. I mean, the minutes, everything's online. You can, you can have access to all of that information. So tune in, but you can't say, well, nobody told me. Well, yeah, we're not making individual phone calls for you, but
Correct.
That information is out there. Okay, so Pete, I'm off my soapbox, Pete.
That's fine.
Tune in. All right, so let's play this OJ song. This is in honor of the birthday of Walter Williams. It's called Sing a Happy Song. It is 6:47. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll be back.
Sing a happy song, sing a happy song. Why don't you sing along, sing a happy song. Get on up and dance, sing a happy song. Come on, clap your hands, sing a happy song.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:53. I never know how I'm going to be seen when Pete pops in here. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. My name is Tina Gorman, and Pete is playing this morning and having a really good time here. It's fun.
Yeah.
This is really kind of fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'm evaluating the program. I think I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's kind of
gives different options.
Yeah, it does give different options, and it's pretty super, Pete.
Yeah.
It's very professional. Okay, so let's do a few more birthdays. Before I do that, I do want to remind viewers, I have at the Senior Center, we have a large tent in the parking lot that we've had up all June. I think we set it up in the end of May for June. So we've been doing our outdoor fitness programming under the tent, and this is today we have our Totally Fun Fitness class with Carol Palmer. That's also available, obviously, on Channel 15. But Carol will be there from 9 to 10 this morning doing that program. There are no advanced sign-ups, so you're welcome to join us. She's been doing it over the summer on the first and the last Wednesday of the month, and because this is the last Wednesday of the month, she'll be out there for the last time under the tent. But I'm working very hard to see if we can get that program moved indoors.
Did you guys lose your tent to the Big E like everybody else?
We did. That's exactly. Well, we knew that.
Everybody else.
We knew that when we signed the contract. He said to Mary Lou and me, "You can have it until August 31st, and then we need it back." So they're actually coming. We will have mail call next Tuesday, which is August 31st. That will be under the tent, and we've told them you can come anytime after 9 o'clock on Tuesday when we do our final mail call class to pick up the tent, and then it's going to go by the way. But anyway, yes, it'll be headed over to the Big E. So
like everybody else's tent.
Like everybody, that's exactly it. Like everybody else's tent. So
by the way, Bobby Goff has a good guest get coming up.
Okay.
So the fans of Star Trek did a show called Star Trek Continues.
Okay.
And they rebuilt the set of the Enterprise and everything. It resides in Georgia. It still exists.
Really?
And Bobby met the captain, or through friends met the captain of this.
Okay.
He produced and revived it.
Okay.
So we will have the new Captain Kirk next for the first week in September.
I was going to say so.
Bobby G and Company.
So not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
We're taping it next week.
Very cool.
And we're trying to get it set up so that we might be able to do a new cast reunion and do it down in Georgia on the set of the Enterprise.
Well, that would be really interesting.
Be sweet.
Yeah, that would be fair road trip.
Oh yeah, I'd be in for that. That'd be like a
goodness.
weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where is it in Georgia?
It's upstate New Jersey. It's like about a 10-hour drive or something.
So doable.
Load up the car and drivable. Yeah. So I'm like
doable for something fun like that.
Just the fact that he got that interview is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So.
Good time. All right, so that's a week from Thursday, and
so if you want to watch the series, it's on YouTube. Star Trek Continues.
Okay.
And it's a fan-driven, fan-funded, fan-driven.
So for all you Trekkies,
yes,
go for it.
Yep.
All right, and also just to remind folks too, because it is the fourth Wednesday of the month, Harry Rock will be on in studio as soon as I'm done, starting at 8 o'clock. And do you know who Harry's guest is this morning?
McEwen from Stanley Park.
Oh, Bob McEwen.
Bob McEwen and their fundraising director. I can't remember her name. They're got an auction going on, online auction.
Yes, they do have an online auction.
So we're talking about that. Then the fundraiser and the progress with the Carillon
Tower. Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center donated to that online auction. So,
There you go.
yeah, and I think lots of local businesses stepped up to the plate. So that should be great. And of course, we love supporting Stanley Park. So that should be a great show. And I also wanted to comment, Pete, because right before, after that last break, you had the little thing from Mark Auerbach. I really enjoy, I don't get to listen to all of Mark's shows, but I really enjoy he has such interesting guests on that show.
He does.
I really enjoy that.
it.
So if you haven't tuned into Mark Auerbach's shows, they're very, very interesting.
You catch
Really
it 1
good.
hour at a time, but when he comes in here
Yeah.
to tape, we tape three shows back to back to back.
Yeah.
So I just sit here and I listen.
It's just he's really got some great guests on. So
Yeah.
all right, couple more birthdays before we do the top of the hour stuff, and a reminder too that Joe Rouse will be joining us at about 7:15 by phone. It is the birthday of the late Monty Hall. We were talking before about game show hosts. Well, television game show host, producer, and philanthropist. He was born on this date in 1921 in Winnipeg, Canada, and died in 2017 at the age of 96. Monty Hall lived to be 96. And I got to tell you, he looked fabulous. Even, I saw pictures of him when he was in his 90s, and he looked great. He was born Monty Halperin to Orthodox Jewish parents. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Manitoba, where he majored in chemistry and zoology, and he had hoped to go to medical school. But he was not admitted due to secret quotas restricting the number of Jewish students admitted. So remember, that was back in the day, different than things are now. Monty Hall's first radio job was working for CKRC Radio in Winnipeg, Canada, while he was still a student. He went into the field of broadcasting and hosted a variety of game shows, first in Canada and then in the United States, before landing the role of the host of Let's Make a Deal, which he developed and produced with partner Stefan Hattos. Let's Make a Deal aired on NBC Daytime from December 30th, 1963 to December 27th, 1968, and then on ABC Daytime from 1968 to 1976, along with 2 primetime runs. It aired in syndication from 1971 to 77, 80 to 81, 84 to 86, and again on NBC briefly from 1990 to 1991. Monty Hall was producer or executive producer of the show through most of its runs. During the show's initial run, Hall appeared alongside model Carol Merrill and announcer Jay Stewart. And I mean, I can remember as a kid watching Let's Make a Deal. And, it was always, do you want the box that Jay, that's on the floor with Jay, or do you want the curtain that Carol Merrill is pointing to? And I used to use that expression all the time. And anybody who's old enough to remember the show Let's Make a Deal knows who Carol Merrill and Jay Stewart are. But, say that to a 30-year-old or a 25-year-old, and they're looking at you like, huh? Because I'm always saying, oh, would you like the curtain that Carol Merrill is pointing to?
They revived that show.
They did. They did. Yep.
With what's his name? The one was the comedy show there. Wayne Brady hosts it now.
Okay. All right. Hall spent much of his post-deal days involved in philanthropic work. His family says he was always going to telethons and helped raise close to $1 billion in charity in his lifetime. He was repeatedly honored for his charitable efforts. Wards at Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto and Hahnemann University Hospital in Philadelphia are named in his honor. So happy birthday to the late Monty Hall. We did, before COVID, Pete, probably about 6 months or so before COVID, we had a student intern from Westfield State, and he and Sandra Fisher, my greeter, we did our own version of Let's Make a Deal at the Senior Center. And I have to say, it was hysterical. I mean, and we told the seniors, of course, they all knew we were going to do it. So they all dressed up, because that's what they used to do for Let's Make a Deal. And we went into the audience. And then we had things like, remember, they used to say, if you wanted to participate, well, who do you have, who has bobby pins? Does anybody have bobby pins in their purse or their pocket? Or who has a tissue box or something, they would have all these crazy things. So we had the seniors, they all brought in like bags with unusual items that we might ask for. And I have to say, it was absolutely hysterical. We had a good time. All right. It is also the birthday today, August 25th, of celebrity chef Rachel Ray. She is 53 years old today. She was born in Glen Falls, New York. Rachel Domenica Ray was raised in Lake George, New York, surrounded by family in, guess what, the restaurant business. She herself held several jobs in the food industry, and it was while working in a gourmet shop in Schenectady, New York, that Ray developed her signature 30-minute meals classes, which were soon picked up by a local television newscast. The cooking segments eventually led to Ray's first cookbook deal and a contract with Food Network. Vivacious and oftentimes goofy, Rachel Ray's shtick is simple recipes involving shortcuts that anyone can do at home. She launched a food and lifestyle magazine called Every Day with Rachel Ray in 2005 and premiered a self-titled television talk show in collaboration with Oprah Winfrey in 2006. That year, 30-Minute Meals received an Emmy Award for Outstanding Service Show. She has continued to receive kudos for her work. In 2008 and 2009, Rachel Ray won the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Talk Show Entertainment. The show has garnered multiple nominations to date. In addition to all of her books, programs, and products, Rachel Ray has devoted some of her time to charity. She established Yum-O, which is a nonprofit organization to educate young people and their families about the importance of good nutrition and to help feed American children in need. So happy 53rd birthday to celebrity chef Rachel Ray. It is 7:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC cable channel 15. We will be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com. www.westfieldmakeup.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:07. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And joining us after the next break will be Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield, Joe Rouse. So stay tuned for that. Today is National Kiss and Makeup Day. So August 25th is Kiss and Makeup Day, a day to let go of resentment, grudges, anger, and indignation. The unofficial holiday encourages people to make up and reconcile with anyone they are estranged with at work, at school, or in their family. Conflict is one of the biggest truths in life. No matter how much we try, disagreements are a big part of our relationships with others. Most of the times, these differences can be easily set aside and forgotten. Sometimes, however, arguments and misunderstandings can take an ugly turn, estranging and isolating people from each other. Kiss and make up is an English language idiom that means to forgive someone and be friends again with them. Kiss and Makeup Day provides a second chance. It's a day to set aside differences and let people in our lives know that despite all the quarrels and disagreements, they mean a lot to us. Staying angry with a loved one can be harmful, not only to the relationship, but to one's own mental and physical health. We have talked about that on this show before. So take this day to let go of all the anger and make up with someone you have quarreled with. And trust me, folks, I did hospice work for a number of years. I can't tell you how common it is for somebody to be estranged with their family, and honest to God, they don't even remember what the falling out was really all about, or their perspectives of it are so different. And, you know, we recently lost someone, a friend to the senior center, and I had to track down family who the person had lost touch with, many years ago. And that's sad, especially when it's children. It just, it's sad. So kiss and make up. Take advantage of the day. All right, we talked before about getting a copy of the Voice of Experience newsletter, because that's how you're going to know what's going on at the senior center. And just a reminder that the Voice comes out the last Saturday of the month as an insert into the Westfield News. If you get the Republican and the Westfield News delivered to your doorstep, you should get a copy in it. Otherwise, it'll hit the streets on Monday. And because we are at the end of August, it comes out on Saturday. That will be the September edition. I was still making revisions to it yesterday, and I'm sure I will make a couple of more before it actually gets published. I'm really lucky because I work with Jim Johnson Corwin over at the Westfield News, and I have to do a huge shout out to Jim. We've been working together on the newsletter now for, 8 or 9 years. He is so patient with me. He's so terrific. I sent him all this information, and I said, okay, page 3 is so packed with information. Please try to do this without like a 6-point font in order to get all this stuff in there. And I'm moving things and switching things. And, as we move more programs indoors and fewer programs outside, and turn things around and upside down, poor Jim has to keep up with me. So that will be out on Saturday in the Westfield News. And then we'll have it at the Senior Center Monday. Actually, it'll be in the Senior Center bin for those of you who really like to get a jump start. It'll be in the Senior Center bin by usually by noon on Saturday, because it gets delivered in the middle of the night, and I get it out there as quickly as I can. And of course, we'll get it online also as quickly as we can. We are doing some shifting around in terms of our meals. We did a couple of weeks of 4 days indoor dining, 1 day curbside. We're finding that curbside is a lot more popular. People got used to it. They liked it. And especially now with our case numbers going up again in Westfield, I think especially our senior population is being cautious yet again. And so beginning on September 1st, we'll be doing 4 curbside meals a week and just 1 indoors. Thursdays will be inside. All the others will be curbside. And all of that is in the newsletter on page 3. We also have a big event coming up, our annual Cops for a Cause event coming up. So we'll talk more about that next week. But that is on the front page of the newsletter. And just to run down some of the programming that we're going to be doing before we take a break here, September. Now, and I've now started putting the word tentatively on everything that goes out there, every flyer that we're doing, because again, this is tentatively scheduled based on the best information that we have right now for what's happening pandemic-wise. So the Art Unlimited class on Thursdays in the afternoon. Starting in September, we will be back to bingo every Friday from 1 to 2:30. And we'll be doing, because the gift card bingo was so popular over the summer, we'll be doing that on the 4th Friday of the month. The 4th or the last? The 4th Friday of the month. The 4th Friday of the month will be gift card bingo. That's where everybody gets 1 bingo card. It's for free, and the winners receive a $5 gift card, and we get sponsors to help us with that. And so we're very grateful for our monthly sponsors. Chess with Les has moved to Wednesday afternoons. That's becoming more popular. The Do Re Mi Singers will be back rehearsing in mid-September, but their rehearsals will be moved to the afternoon. The Heaven's Angels Project will also be back in September. That has moved to the first Wednesday of the month. They used to meet on Monday afternoon, but they're moved to Wednesday. Mahjong is Wednesdays from 1 to 4. They are up and running now. So if you are interested or you want to learn, Mary Lou and I can't quite figure out the game, but the folks that are up there playing it are having a great time. The Novel Ideas Book Group will be back in person on the second Friday of the month at 10. I think we decided the time. Oh, 9, I think 9:30. The time had changed. I have to redo this. I just realized that. The Peacemakers Quilting Group, they're moving to Friday mornings from Friday afternoon. The Sassy Stitchers meet on Wednesday mornings, and they started back in the morning, I think, last week. So that's anytime after like 8:30, 9 o'clock. The Season Bombers Billiards League, we had to split in 2 because we now have room capacities, and that was per the guidance of the health department. So I appreciate Joe and Deb Mulvena helping us with that. So because of that, the pool league, the Thursday pool league, was so popular and so large that we had to split it in 2. So we now have a Tuesday and a Thursday league, and you do need to sign up for pretty much all of this stuff in advance. The Side-by-Side Support Group will be back and meeting, and we will be meeting on actually this Friday at 9:30, and then starting in September, we're going to move that to 9 o'clock. And then the Viewpoints Low Vision Support Group will start back in September. So we have a lot of things starting back in September, and happy to do that. We'll be talking more about that next week when the newsletter comes out. Right now, I'm hoping, is Joe on deck there, Pete?
He hasn't called in yet.
He hasn't called in yet. Okay, well, we're hoping to. I will text him, but let's play his song, which is Good to Be Alive, Hallelujah by Andy Grammer, and hopefully he will call in.
Show just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Now all my dreams are coming true. Yeah, I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Finally found my
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman, and I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And Pete, I'm trying to decide, do we know what this city is that's behind me?
I'm not sure what's behind you.
It's like my Westfield has grown.
Yes.
That voice that you hear is Pete Coles, the chairman of the board and our producer. And on the phone is Joe Rouse, director of public health for the city of Westfield. Oh, I'm loving how you're doing this, Pete. This is, hi,
I was
Joe.
playing
Are you
on
there?
the break.
Yes, good morning.
Listen, Joe, you have to at some point turn on Channel 15. Like Pete's got all these new virtual studio things going on. So, man, we look like we are broadcasting right out of New York City. It's really pretty fun.
I actually checked it out earlier and loved the new setup and the new desk and everything.
I'm playing, yes.
The desk is so great. I know. I'm loving the desk. It's perfect.
Well, I'm sorry I missed out, but like you said, you got to err on the side of caution, and
Yeah.
I'm the one that preaches from the rooftops to people
Yes.
to stay home if they don't feel well. So,
Yes.
And the other thing too is, now that the cases are increasing and people are going to have to be more vigilant about, caring for themselves and others, is that when somebody, and this has happened in our environment, where you introduce a person who's symptomatic, it angers people so much, like never before. Like, what are you doing here?
Yes.
If you're coughing and have the sniffles and stuff, and it just escalates it to a whole new level, and that's the crisis of our society right now. It's the climate is very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, yeah. So as you were mentioning, Joe, so I've got last week, Fridays, which this seems like forever ago, but it was just last Friday. City's COVID infection rate jumps 148% from previous weeks. So here we go. Here's the big headline. And I have to say the one thing about this, Joe, is, the week before we had meetings with some of our seniors. We have posted since you and Mary Lou and Deb Mulvena and I met, and we went room to room, and I told the seniors this. I said, we went room to room with the health department. We set up what we felt were reasonable and safe room capacities Those room capacities are posted in bright orange paper on every single room. We have, warnings all over the place. And so we said to him, listen, we're going to look at our larger programs, the ones that typically draw more than what this room is going to hold now. And we're going to figure out how to split them up, do them multiple times with fewer people. And I have to say, at first, we were met with not so much resistance. I mean, people weren't arguing, but they were not happy until last week's Friday headline came out. And I have heard almost no grumbling since then. Honestly, people.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've noticed is people are masking up. They'll ask us as soon as they walk in the door, because most of the staff wears their mask when we're around, when we're outside of our office. And people will say, "Oh, do I have to mask?" And I said, "No, it's not mandated. That's your, it's your prerogative, but that's up to you." But I've noticed over the last week that more and more of them are coming in with their masks on. Once they kind of get in and get settled, and because we have everything spaced and we're really paying attention to physical distancing when we set up tables and chairs. And that's the other thing that the signs say, don't move any of the tables and chairs. They're set up, per guidance from the health department. And I have to say, people have been very respectful of that. Nobody's moving anything around. So it's really working, as much as I can see anyway, for us.
Yeah, and they're probably going to become even more appreciative as we move along, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, our numbers are going to go up again this week, and now we're starting to see hospitalizations. And the worst part of it is it's really manifesting itself and spreading like wildfire in our kids. Yeah. So that's very disconcerting to say when we're headed back into school in less than a week. So, that's why the mask mandate came out from the Department of Education. They had no other choice. It was either that or delay the start of school, because it's not just Westfield, like I always say. Yeah. We're not an island. This is all over the place, and here we go again. Yeah. And it's really, going to lead to some things like what you're talking about with restrictions and limitations that I believe at some point are going to have to go beyond recommendations and guidelines if this continues.
Mm-hmm. Joe, were you surprised? I have to say, like with the mask mandate for in schools, I was surprised that it took the state as long as it took them. I mean, were you surprised by that, or were you hearing kind of rumblings beforehand?
I wasn't surprised by it at the time when it happened. See, the problem is that this all came to be very quickly. And yes, it is a very fluid situation.
Yeah, I know.
It started with a slight increase in cases. Now, we're only talking about a month ago, maybe. Okay. Where we started to see an uptick in the numbers, but we attributed that through our contact tracing as being travel related. Okay, right. And everybody did, right? Yeah. Well, to be expected, people are going to Florida and stuff. Yep. And coming, well, okay. But then it started to escalate from there, because it started to get into, like the newspaper article said when I said we're back to a community spread. Mm-hmm. So I think everybody was hopeful that the travel cases were going to resolve themselves and had their fingers crossed that it wasn't going to spread through the community, because that's what isolation and quarantine is for. Mm-hmm. But that didn't work, because the cases started to come in so fast and furious. Yeah. Contact tracing couldn't keep up. Mm-hmm. And when you don't order somebody to isolate or quarantine or notify them even, chances are they're going to move around freely. Yes. So.
Yeah. And so there we are. So let's talk a little bit about these statistics, Joe. So it looks like, as you're saying, that things are escalating yet again this week. I mean, we're not seeing the cases are not going down, nor are they stabilized. No. Okay. All right.
No. Yeah, they're gonna. And like I said, what's happening now is we're getting clusters, which means that it's not. Yes, it is a community spread situation, meaning that it's not all isolated to certain facilities or organizations. Mm-hmm. It is all over the place, but the numbers are so high that, clusters are popping up all over the place, which goes to show you how contagious this variant is.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see a lot of that before, and especially not in daycares and school settings or school-like settings. And we are now. We're having, it's not just one case at a daycare place. It's 7, it's 10, and they're all kids.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So, Joe, let's talk a little bit. Let's just shift gears a little bit here. I know one of the things that you were working on as we continued to preach, vaccination and implore people who are not vaccinated to get vaccinated. And one of the things that you and I had talked about was the so-called walk-in clinics and how easy or difficult it is to get a vaccine. So let's revisit that. Let's talk a little bit about I know some of the pharmacies are technically walk-in or supposed to be, but not really. Let's say we've got somebody who now says, hey, Pfizer is approved. It's not on an emergency basis. That's what I was holding out for. Now I'm ready to get my vaccine. Where do they go? What do they do?
So I think the best thing is, you don't really have to go on a website at this point. That was
good.
How it all started as a resource.
Yeah.
So that you could see where it was available for you, closest to you, and then you could register and sign up and all that stuff. Now it really is, and I've been going around to all the local places to find out.
I know. That's why we need a report here.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's going to differ based on whether you're a youth or whether you're an adult. So we'll just talk about adults for now.
Okay, yeah, let's start with adults.
And anybody eligible for any of the vaccine, right? The Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, or Pfizer. When they say walk in, that is true. You can walk in and see if you can get immunized, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be able to do it at that exact moment. Now, there's personnel issues, there's the availability of vaccine that's not really an issue, but they may or may not have what you want and or need at that time. So what I would say right now is that it's a hit or miss walk-in situation, and I know that they put the signs out there and say walk-in vaccine, but it's probably better to call first. I think that's a fair thing right now, because I did actually go in with a person to get vaccinated, and we wound up having to go to 3 places before we got the vaccination, because it wasn't the first 2. One was not able to do a walk-in vaccination, and the other didn't have the right vaccine. So if you want to save your time, and this is all changing rapidly too, because of course as case numbers go up, more of the pharmacies are going to get more of a supply and ramp up their availability. So I think that's going to be better. But right now, I would say it changes day to day, hour to hour. Call the facility you want to go to first, and then they'll tell you what to do.
Okay, and the local pharmacies in Westfield are Walgreens, right, and CVS.
Yep.
And is Arrow doing it as well, or no?
Last I knew, yes.
Yes.
Up
Okay.
by the
All right.
turnpike
Okay.
there.
And
Yep.
Stop and Shop.
Or
are they not doing it?
That's a question.
Okay.
I haven't been able to get there yet, but
because I know they did.
I think,
they did the one that we partnered with the Housing Authority with. So I know they were. I don't know if they still are. I know the Stop and Shop in West Springfield is though, because that's where I live and that's where I shop, and I know they still have the sign. So, but we can find that out. But it's certainly out there.
Yeah,
and there's also a clinic right at Westfield High School. I think that's primarily geared probably more toward families with students, but still, right? People can go there.
Anybody can go. Anybody can get, and they have a variety of vaccines available based on the demographics. And then there's, I think, a $10 gift card that you get as well.
Yes, I just read that in today. That's on the front page of today's Westfield News. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is all right, so you have the brick and mortar places, the CVS and Walgreens, et cetera.
Yep.
But as things get worse, and now you got to remember, when we were plateaued with cases, everybody started to go back to normal and So all the COVID stuff was still there,
Mhm.
except not as many resources were being allocated. So
Mhm.
now that we're ramping back up,
Yep.
you're going to start seeing more of these pop-up clinics again.
Okay.
And those will be advertised as best as we can. But there's so many organizations now, including the state, that have the buses or
Yep.
the or the other ones that look like a food truck or something.
Yes.
And so we're really trying to get them to be more of a presence on a more regular basis, and they're also they tend to be a lot more visible because they put themselves in central locations, and you really can't miss a great big tour bus that's giving vaccination.
Right, exactly. So yeah, and as Pete and I were saying before, I mean, we're putting things out on Channel 15, on Channel 12. We have our own daily newspaper in the Westfield News. I mean, they're putting this stuff out there. I mean, they are, we send in press releases, they're putting the press releases out there. So the information is there for people. It's, city website. I mean, you name it. Social
Right.
media. So people just have to tune in. All right, let's take a short break. It is 7:33. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest this morning is Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the City of Westfield. Joe, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about face coverings and physical distancing and going back to the importance of those. And then a little bit later on, we're going to talk about booster shots and your thoughts on that. So stay tuned. Right now, we're going in honor of Billy Ray Cyrus's 60th birthday. Again, let me remind you all that he can now join the Westfield Senior Center because he's 60. We are going to listen to Achy Breaky Heart, and we'll be back with Joe Rouse.
You can tell the world you never was my girl. You can burn my clothes when I'm gone. Oh, you can tell your friends just what a fool I've been and laugh and joke about me on the phone. You can tell my arms go back into the phone. You can tell my feet to hit the floor. Or you can tell my lips to tell my fingertips they won't be reaching out for you no more. But don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think you'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, he might blow up and kill this man. You can tell your mom I moved to Arkansas. You can tell your dog to bite my leg. Or tell your brother Cliff, whose fist can tell my lip, he never really liked me anyway. Or tell your Aunt Louise, tell anything you please. Myself already knows I'm not okay. Or you can tell my eyes to watch out for my mind. It might be walking out on me today. But don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think you'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, he might blow up and kill this man. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think you'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, he might blow up and kill this man. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think he'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, he mightn't blow up and kill this man.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:38. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And on the phone this morning, we have Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health for the city of Westfield. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we are very appreciative. I really do need to do a shout out, Joe, to you and to Deb Mulvena, Assistant Director over there, and your whole staff, your whole team. I mean, this has been a very long 18 months for you. And I appreciate Juanita Carnes and the articles that she's been writing for the Westfield News, those weekly articles that we're reading on Saturday. So I know she keeps doing shout outs to the staff over there. But thank you so much. This has been grueling. And I'm sure when all of you got into public health, you go through the day-to-day stuff and we go through the seasonal, things that we have, the flu and ticks and, food-borne illnesses and all that. But I'm not sure that anyone could really be prepared for what we've all been going through. So thanks to you and your team.
Hey, Joe, I have a question. Is this round is this variant as hard as people like hospitalization-wise, or because the numbers still look kind of to be small?
Right, yeah. So this variant has been shown so far to be more contagious, however, not quite as robust. So there's a whole bunch of different arguments to be made about that, whereas in the first round we saw the primary victims be seniors and those people with comorbidities, and so that's why, and it wasn't just exclusively them, but that was a large majority in the very beginning. Average age of people were in the senior population. So that an argument could be made that the first time around, the first variant was, hitting the most vulnerable population, and therefore that's why we had more hospitalizations and deaths. And this time around, it seems to be being spread among younger people. And so it appears as though that it's not as robust because they're healthier and stronger and may not even become symptomatic. So that's it. The jury's still out on that, Pete.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the trends because I'm on the mass dashboard. And, you hear anecdotal stories, and I was just trying to find out some more information on it because you look at it and go, all right, well, this one may burn itself out too, and we'll see what's next.
Joe, as long as Pete's kind of talking about that, one of my questions for you, and I know this, I want to expand on some of the things that you brought up in the Westfield News article. What are some trusted sources of internet information? I mean, we've all heard about the non-trusted sources, but where could people go to get some accurate information? Where would you suggest?
Okay, so I would go right to the source where we go. And there's two things about that. There's a lot of independent agencies, and they are reputable, but they're in the process of doing research and giving out their initial findings and stuff like this. But if you want to go by what we go by for guidance, it's really the CDC and the Department of Public Health, Massachusetts, and there isn't any question that you can't get answered by accessing those resources, except for local information. And then local information is going to be our website, which will also have links to those agencies. CDC has been really, really good. I mean, they must have a huge team of people to just disseminate information via their website. And I have not yet found a topic that I needed information on that I couldn't find on the CDC website. So the Department of Public Health website is also very informative, but it's a little harder to navigate through.
The state DPH site is awesome. Their COVID dashboard is really good.
Yep, and it is, and that's so. What I keep saying to people is, if they want to argue with our recommendations or our guidelines, we're taking that as we do with everything else because we're a regulatory agency from the other mother regulatory agency.
Right.
So very few times does the local board of health or local health department do anything that's above and beyond or out on their own, because that can be considered arbitrary and unless there's very good reason for it, we don't operate outside of those boundaries. So I always, when people argue about this isn't effective, that's not effective, why do this, why do that, they're like, look, we have to go by the trusted sources, and they have no reason to put out inaccurate information.
Okay. All right. So, Joe, another thing that I would like you to expand upon, which you did in the article a little bit, but I think for our viewing audience is I would like you to talk a little bit about face masks and what sort of the purpose and how they should be used and when they should be used and what's recommended at this point.
Yep. Okay. So, like we said before, in schools, it's going to be a mask mandate, and it's still also for public transportation. And I believe for certain medical settings, right?
Yes.
And so I think it's going to be coming down that, especially as we go further along and get into close quarters again after summer, that there's going to be more mandates that are coming out regarding that. But there's so much debate about the effectiveness of masks. And it really is like you gotta roll back everything. All right, get rid of all of the stuff that you've read and just look at it at a logical basis. I mean, just as a person, anytime you have a barrier that is going to protect whatever you're throwing out of your body, whether it's sneeze, cough, even talking, whatever, there is no way that is ineffective. If you're wearing a mask, and we're talking about preventing transmission, and this is where the debate gets weird, because people want to say masks aren't protecting you. Nobody ever said masks are protecting you, although they are in essence, but we need to focus on the cutting down of the transmission. So we were talking before in the last round of COVID about barriers, plexiglass, all of this stuff. People had all these things put up. Yeah. Well, a mask does the same thing, right? Yeah. So if you just look at it fundamentally, you can't argue that a mask is not cutting down on the transmission of COVID. It obviously is. You can argue that it's not fully protecting you. Absolutely, the manufacturers of those masks will tell you that, because you still have mucous membranes exposed. So unless you wear a scuba helmet, you're still at risk. And also nobody's saying masks completely prevent the transmission either, but they certainly cut it down.
And basically, you're protecting those around you. So when you're wearing a mask, whatever you've got, you're creating the barrier, so you're not spewing out anything. So my understanding is that the theory behind this is that if we're all doing this when we're indoors and in close quarters, that's protecting all of us. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. It's really, like I said, the problem with the misinformation or misinterpretations of the information that's out there is what makes people confused. Yes. But again, to erase all of that anything that you heard and just think about it logically as a person, what used to happen when you were a kid, or even before COVID, it doesn't matter, adults, kids, whatever, when you would sneeze, wouldn't you cover it? Right? Yes. You didn't just blast it into somebody's face. So what's the rationale for that? It's that you're trying to block that from getting out into the air or getting into somebody's space.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with masks. I mean, it's just an intuitive thing. You cough, you sneeze when you're around other people. You always try and cover it. And then remember now the proper method of covering your sneeze or cough is with your arm
With
instead
your
of your
elbow.
hand, right?
Yep, the inside of your elbow.
That's migrated, right? So you don't spread it via touch surfaces. But yeah, I mean, so really there should be no debate about masks at all. If you're looking at it from a preventing the spread of the virus standpoint, you can argue all day long about it protecting you. Okay, that's not the elephant in the room is let's get it settled that it's going to protect people from transmitting the virus.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for setting the record straight on that, Joe. And just to let folks know, it was interesting because when things started to settle down a bit, whenever I got an email from other organizations, other departments or whatever saying, oh, we have masks, we have this, we have supplies, we have sanitizer. Does anybody need anything? And I thought, sure, I'll take it. So I had just gotten like 500 masks from the CDC, just the white masks, the cotton ones. And then everything kind of settled down and, people were not wearing masks. And I thought, all right, well, now I got these masks. And I said, well, maybe we'll need them someday. Well, sure enough, they're back out at the greeter's desk. So we do have our masks available, especially for people who come in and say, oh, I left mine in the car, but I would really feel more comfortable with a mask on. So they're there for our folks for sure. So let's take a short break. When we come back, Joe, I just want to talk a little bit because we'll only have a few minutes, but I do want to talk about your thoughts on booster shots. So let's take a short break. Sure. In honor of National Kiss and Make Up Day, we're going to listen to Tanya Tucker singing Strong Enough to Bend. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Joe Rouse.
There's a tree out in the backyard that never has been broken by the wind, and the reason it's still standing, it was strong enough to bend. For years we have stayed together as lovers and as friends. What we have will last forever if we're strong enough to bend. When you say something that you can't take back, big wind blows and you hear a little cry. When you say, hey, well, I might be wrong, you can sway with the wind till the storm is gone. Sway with the wind till the storm is gone. Like a tree out in the backyard that never has been broken by the wind. Our love will last forever if we're strong enough to bend. Start thinking that you know it all, big wind blows and a branch will fall. When you say, hey, this job takes two, we can sway with the wind till the skies turn blue. Sway with the wind till the skies turn blue. Like the tree out in the backyard that never has been broken by the wind. Our love will last forever if we're strong enough to bend. Our love will last forever if we're strong enough to bend.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:42. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and on the fourth Wednesday of every month, we have Joe Rouse, Director of the Public Health Department for the City of Westfield, with us. So Joe is on the phone with us this morning. Welcome again, Joe.
Good morning, and thank you, Tina. I just wanted to back up real quick on something you said in the last segment about thank you for the recognition of the staff and everything that we've been through. And one of the things that you had mentioned was not expecting to have to, deal with this sort of a pandemic. And it's one of those things where people have been in public health long enough. Everybody knew this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. You just hoped that it wasn't going to happen in your tenure.
I was just going to say until after you retired, right, Joe?
Yeah, there was no question. I mean, that something like this was going to happen, and we went through scares. Remember with SARS. Sure. I mean, this is a version of SARS also. I mean, everything: anthrax, monkeypox, swine flu, right? All this stuff that I all have files on that we were on standby with. This one actually came to fruition, and like I said, you knew it was going to happen eventually. You just hoped that maybe when it manifested itself, you would be on a beach somewhere, retired or something. Yeah. But anyway,
but here we are.
Here we are.
So,
all right.
So Joe, we just have a couple of minutes left. 3 or 4 minutes. What are your thoughts about booster shots?
All right. So right now, it's the booster shot discussion is happening and research is happening to see when and who should receive a booster. Now, what a booster is basically when the vaccine that you had originally becomes ineffective, and then you get a booster shot to kind of spring your immunity back and allow you to not, get deathly ill if you get the virus. But that hasn't been decided yet as far as definitively if people should get a booster shot and when, because they have to look at the cases as a whole and see if it does warrant, if cases have waned over time and we're starting to have these all resolve themselves, then what would be the sense of getting a booster if it's not prevalent, if the virus isn't prevalent anymore?
Right.
So the time will tell whether or not boosters are recommended for people, but they are prepared to do that. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger to say, yes, now you should. In the meantime, another thing that's being discussed right now is that the CDC does recommend for people who are immunocompromised currently to get another dose of the vaccine. And that's not a booster, because their vaccine, they could have just gotten it a month ago. And if you're immunocompromised, and you have to consult with your doctor, moderately or severely, it doesn't matter, they would advise you to get a third dose of the vaccine, usually about at the same time apart that you would have gotten the second shot from the first. And I think it's maybe a month after you're fully vaccinated. If you are immunocompromised, you should get a third dose. And all that does is it bolsters your immune system, because maybe the 2 doses wasn't enough if you're immunocompromised. So it's not technically a booster, but they're calling it that now for those people in that situation. But as far as the legitimate booster shot, we're not quite there yet to discuss whether or not we're going to be advised to do that.
Okay, so two things, Joe, that I want to say before to wrap this up. So one is, I believe on the State Department of Public Health, I believe they actually have a list of those people who they would recommend that third shot for, and I think they have that spelled out. So people can go back to that resource, which you had mentioned earlier, which is the Mass Department of Public Health. And the other thing is, Joe, just for my own clarification, so there's a difference between a third shot and a booster shot. So a booster shot is not the same thing. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
That's right. A
Okay.
booster is something that you would get when the time, based on the research, when the time has gone by where your first two doses would now be rendered ineffective.
But actually, what they're injecting into you is not the third. It's not a third dose. It's a separate shot of serum.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right. It's not just that. Right. It's not just another version of what you've already gotten. It'll be formulated a little bit different, and it's kind of the same way that the flu vaccine is formulated differently every year based on the conditions and circumstances.
Okay, perfect. Joe, our time is up. I know Harry Rock is waiting in the wings with his guests from Stanley Park. Thank you so much. I know that we'll be talking more about booster shots next month, and we'll also be talking about flu shots because the health department will be once again partnering with the Senior Center to do flu shots in early October. So again, the September newsletter comes out this Saturday, and there is information on signing up for that. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to come by, to call in today and give us the latest update during these, kind of scary and, Pete's word, unprecedented times. But that is the reality of what it is. These are unprecedented times in this fluid situation that forces us to keep pivoting. And so there we go. I'm going to leave it at that. And Joe, your final words?
Stay healthy, my friend.
There you go. We'll see you next month. Have a good one.
You know the bed feels warmer, sleeping here alone. You know I dream in color and do the things I want. You think you got the best of me, think you've had the last laugh, bet you think that everything good is gone. Think you left me broken down, think that I'll come running back. Baby, you don't know me 'cause you're dead wrong. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. You heard that I was starting over with someone new. They told you I was moving on over you. You didn't think that I'd come back swinging. You tried to break me, but you see what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. doesn't kill you, makes you strong.